On the agenda tonight, we're going back to 1998 and we're going to be having a listen to the original release of Cher's Believe. Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So this one undoubtedly got requested due to the fact that at the end of last year we were looking at auto-tune and lots of different performances, and we're going right back to where it started. Auto-tune was invented in 1997 and Cher's Believe, released in 1998, was the first song that really did highlight the effect in all of its glory, and it certainly was something that sounded totally different to everything else in the charts. So let's jump into the song, and we have the pitch monitoring software up on screen so that we can see Cher's voice as a yellow line, and it's plotted against pitch on the left hand side of the graph. Anyway, we'll jump into it. We will be discussing lots of other things. By the way, if you want to listen to the song the whole way through, go and listen to the song the whole way through, because I will be jumping into it for this analysis. But let's get into it.
No matter how hard I try, you keep pushing me aside and I can't break through. There's no talking to you. It's so sad that you're leaving. It takes time to believe it. But after all is said and done, you're gonna be the lonely one. Oh, do you believe in life after love? I can feel something inside me say, I really don't think you're strong enough, no. Do you believe in life after love? I can feel something inside me say, I really don't think you're strong enough, no.
So I'm going to jump in here, and this song is something that totally changed the landscape of the music industry, because they realise now in the studio that you can tune someone's voice and get it to sit right over a particular note at 440 Hz tuning. When we're jumping into the analysis of this, taking that verse and chorus, ironically, in this song, even though everybody saw this as the starting point of then using auto-tune all the time, ironically, this is used sparingly, even though the effect really does stand out. But as we go through the vocal lines that we can see as we're looking here, whenever we're going to be directly over the line, that's where the auto-tune is kicking in, and it sounds like on the original project, when they're recording this in the studio, they had a channel that was just for auto-tune, but then they also had channels that were for Cher's lead vocal that wasn't edited. And this is why I say that it's been used sparingly, because they've just dragged particular phrases down to the auto-tune track, so that you get to hear the effect, and it really does pop. It really stands out. So we'll just listen to that again, and this time point out a few things.
No matter how hard I try.
Already, we can see here that Cher's vibrato isn't directly over the line here, the A sharp 3. So her voice has been allowed here to just go where it goes without being auto-tuned.
You keep pushing me aside.
And that's the first phrase that's been dragged to that auto-tune channel, and we can see that because the F sharp 4 is directly on the line and the D sharp 4 is directly on the line as well. Unfortunately, the pitch monitoring software hasn't picked it up really clearly, and I think a lot of that is to do with the way that this is being produced. When you listen to the isolated vocal, I'll take out the backing and we'll just listen to that again. You can hear how they've put what sounds like a high-pass filter on the EQ. So that means that they've taken out all of the bottom end, so it sounds almost like you're on a phone, so you don't hear any bass in the sound or in the voice.
You keep pushing me aside and I can't break through. There's no talking to you. So sad that you're leaving.
And here we're even more dramatic with that auto-tune, but look at the last note of the line. It's flat of the A sharp 3. So it's only been used on the C sharp 4, the D sharp 4, and I think we go back down to the C sharp 4. So again, it's been used really sparingly, and this is ironic because people always thought that, oh, this is just auto-tune the whole way through. It isn't. It's just in very particular sections. So the question is, why does this stand out so much, and why do people think the whole song was auto-tuned? And that's because this is the first time anyone's ever heard this effect. So up until 1998, every single voice anybody has heard on a piece of music has been a natural voice, unless it is talk box or a specific effect like playing the guitar or playing a keyboard using your voice, having the tube in your mouth. That's something else. That's not auto-tune. But anybody's vocal that you've heard pre-1998 has been natural. So when you hear something that's been manipulated by an artificial intelligence and is a plugin, it's going to sound weird. It's going to spark your brain, but also it's going to make your ears just notice that, hang on, that wasn't a human voice. What was going on with that? After 1998, auto-tune started to really take off when the music industry realized that they needed to spend, or they didn't need to spend, as long in the studios recording the artists. They could use this plugin and just do 1 or 2 takes, auto-tune it, and now what would have taken maybe 2 or 3 days to record in the studio, they can do in literally half an hour or an hour. That means that they can fit more artists into the studio. It's going to cost a lot less money and therefore maximize profits, which is what the industry is all about. I mean, that's just what industry is about, just full stop, but especially the music industry, trying to get as much money out of the music and the artists as possible. I don't want this video to go on for years tonight, but it could do, because when we have the isolated vocal, we can hear the production on that lead vocal with the delay on the voice, those repeats that we're getting. But listen to the change in the verse, from the verse into the chorus, because, I mean, this was a pop dance track for Cher, and it was a huge hit, and had loads of songwriters. I don't know how many, probably about 8 or something like that. But the production is so unique in that, going from the verse into the chorus, they really pump up the volume and allow that bottom end to now be in Cher's lead vocal, whereas it wasn't in the verse. So that's going to make it stand out even more. We're just going to hear the lead in to the chorus and listen to the level change.
You're gonna be the only one. Oh, do you believe in life after love?
Hopefully you can hear how suddenly her voice is now right in front of your face, and previously it was just set back a little bit, which the EQ, taking out all of that bottom end, will also achieve. That'll make it seem further away, but as soon as all of that bottom end's added into her voice again for the chorus and the volume's boosted, it really stands out as a chorus, along with that change in pitch of her vocal, which just makes it stand out. You get that crescendo. I mean, literally the crescendo here by that increase in volume. So we'll jump back into the chorus and listen out for the level of auto-tune here compared to the verse, because it's really subtle. You'll be able to spot on the pitch monitoring software the occasional line being hit, but her voice has been given a lot more freedom, and you won't just see it snapped to the note in a straight line. You'll see it going sharp of the note and flat.
I can feel something inside me say, I really don't think you're strong enough now. Do you believe in life after love? I can feel something inside me say, I really don't think you're strong enough now.
So just to jump in here, you could see that the G sharp 4, and you could hear that G sharp 4 just getting snapped to the line, to the note of 440 hertz tuning. But look at the way that with the other vocal phrases, this is not a dead straight line. So we know that they've given Cher's voice a lot of leeway here, so you get more of the expression in the chorus. And at the end, we'll be able to see what the auto-tuned version of this looks like. We'll have a look at it now. I've fast-forwarded it to the end of the song so that you can see that exact same vocal phrase, but auto-tuned.
I can feel something inside me say, I really don't think you're strong enough now. Do you believe?
So, when we have the auto-tune kicking in, you see how we're just hitting straight lines here all the time. So we'll go back and resume it for the second verse.
What am I supposed to do? Sit around and wait for you? Well, I can't do that. There's no turning back. I need time to move on. I need love to feel strong.
Really good example there, the D sharp 4 up to the F4 and then back down again, how we're just snapping to the notes with the auto-tune, but it certainly sounds like that.
'Cause I've had time to think it through, and maybe I'm too good for you. Oh, do you believe in life after love? I can feel something inside me say, I really don't think you're strong enough. No, do you believe in life after love? I can feel something inside me say, I really don't think you're strong enough now. Well, I know that I'll get through this.
I just want to jump in here because this middle 8 is now totally natural because, I mean, we hit the C sharp 5 here, but then we're flat of the C sharp 5, we go down, we are in between the G4 and the G sharp 4. So, again, it's been used sparingly here. And this is a great example of an effect being used artistically. So it's not to try and hide the fact that Cher can't hit notes and manipulating her voice to that end. It's to purely show off this effect to make it sound slightly different. And I think that's where things changed post 1998 to the present day, is it's then been used as an effect to hide inefficiencies in somebody's voice rather than just being used as an effect. And there are bands that use it stylistically, which is absolutely fine. A lot of people have a problem with bands and artists who are using it because they can't hit the notes in the studio, and then when they use auto-tune live, a lot of people think, well, what's the point in being a music artist if you don't have to hit notes anymore, which is a huge part of vocal training, is to hit pitches accurately. But let's get back into the middle 8.
'Cause I know that I am strong.
And it does sound like they're dragging the odd word here and there to that auto-tune track, but Cher's vocal technique sounds like it's being snapped when sometimes it isn't. We can see that she's flat of the C sharp 5 here, but that's just the way that she sings. So she's got a voice that lends itself to this technique so that they go hand in hand, and that's why it works so well. The reason they can use it so subtly is because Cher's voice was so accurate anyway, but even with that accuracy, it just stands out like a sore thumb because snapping to notes is totally different to a natural voice. But I love the way that here we're flat of the G sharp 4.
And I don't need you anymore. I don't need you anymore.
Again, allowed to be between notes here.
I don't need you anymore. No, I don't need you anymore.
And you might be thinking that the middle 8 here, or the bridge as it's also called, sounds more expressive when you put it in the context of all of the vocal phrases that we've heard so far. Because her voice is natural, we're hearing it. It's going to hit a chord with you, no pun intended. For that reason, it means that it's going to connect with you more on a deeper level because there's nothing getting in the way of the voice and our ears. It's exactly how Cher is performing it in front of that mic in the studio.
Do you believe in life after love? I can feel something inside
And now for the first time we've got a really deliberate use of it in the chorus. So they just put the effect on the chorus at the end, which is generally how you want to do things from a production perspective. You don't want to just put everything on the verse and the first chorus, because then you've shown all of your aces at the beginning of the song. You want to just keep things rolling along and not have anything that's really noticeable in the chorus and then put it all in at the end. And then when you get that trademark sound, that flip between notes, that's where it's effectively turning the voice into a piano. So it's snapping the voice from one note to the next with no transition between. So sometimes when you've got this vocal phrase, I'll take it back so we can have an example. I really don't think it's strong enough. So there, going, I really don't think it's strong enough. There might be a enough, like there. I'm exaggerating it a bit, but you might slide up. No. So if you're listening to it in slow motion, you hear those slides, but when you're listening to it in real time, you don't really notice the sliding going on, but that's what auto-tune gets rid of. So it sounds like na, and it's just picking out notes directly over lines. And those transitions between notes have so much to do with the expression of the vocalist. Once you start getting rid of the slides between notes and, entering a note slightly sharp or slightly flat and then correcting it to the note, all of these slight variations in pitch, or microtones as they're also called when they're not dead on notes, that just has so much expression in, and that's why auto-tune, when you start hearing a lot of it, just loses the expression of the vocalist. So just as a final discussion for this video, it really puts under the spotlight the reason why potentially people that connected with music pre-1998 on a deeper level now can't connect with music post-1998, but especially nowadays, because auto-tune and pitch correction are being used so widely in the music industry. And when you're talking about the younger generation, I was born in the early 80s, so it meant that I heard a hell of a lot of music before I even heard auto-tune, and that's why it just stood out like a sore thumb. But try and put yourself in the position of the younger generation who are used to hearing auto-tune and pitch correction all the time. It is rife in the music industry at the moment, and it has been, I'd say, for at least, a good 15 years now. So, the thing about listening to music pre-1998, everyone in the world had the same bass line. And when I say that, I don't mean playing bass. I mean having almost like a control group. If you were doing an experiment, everyone's heard voices on the same level. Nobody's heard this effect. But nowadays, everyone has heard the effect, and it's really difficult, I know, for a lot of people to hear the difference between pitch correction, auto-tune, and a natural voice, because that's the situation people are in, that they can't tell the difference because they don't have that baseline vocal to compare it with. The only way that you can do that is go back to listening to the original releases from the 1960s, 1970s, get your vinyls out and listen to those voices, and then compare it with the voices of the current day generation and the current releases in the charts. So it's a really interesting discussion to have, and an interesting topic, and it really does nullify actually the argument that some people say, especially the younger generation, that say, oh, the older generation never like the younger generation's music. And that, generally is true, but when you were talking back in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, throughout those decades, the music wasn't liked by the older generation because of the style, not because of how it sounded the same. So it wasn't the case that the older generation didn't like punk music, for example, because it sounded the same as, classic rock or pop, mainstream pop. It's just that they didn't like how it sounded compared to jazz. which is absolutely fine. There are different genres, and that's what covers genres. I mean, the term, it's different sounds of music. It isn't changing the voice in every genre, which is happening now. So effectively, you'll have pop, rock, every single genre you can think of now sounding the same vocally because it's all being put through the same effect. But thank you guys for requesting this song for me to take a look at, and keep those requests and suggestions coming in the comment section below. As always, let me know what you guys think, and if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the next one. Rock!